The lesson here, and it's called The Zookeeper and His Giraffe. The lesson here is that enduring narratives always prefer carpenters to zookeepers. And by the time that he bothered to try and parse such phrases as pitching timber and gopher wood, it was already too late for the zookeeper and his favourite animal, a creature all absurdity and grace that, would you believe it, only spends between 10 minutes and 2 hours of sleep per day. So that by the end of the first week, the giraffe was not screaming at the rain like the others in their enclosures, but it was blinking half-dreams, patiently, at the zookeeper, as the rain stopped him from loosing his birds and the lions and the tiny griffin and the bear, while the noise of the village's tin roofs or roofs grew in full percussion on account of the hail that they did not often mention in the books, as 40 days of straight rain is always the assumption. But there was hail too, and sleet, and silent snow, as silent as a giraffe that is sick to its fourth stomach, its second poor simile, its 19th hour of rest, its fifth questionable etymology, and its tall thoughts were interrupted when the zookeeper leaned up to him to ask, "Who will believe me that you ever existed when this is all over?" And the zookeeper twiddled the ossicones on the giraffe's head, make-believing that he could radio for help because perhaps the zookeeper we're talking about was delirious. Let's give him that. And he continued to say into the giraffe's sleek, long ear, its tall ear, "Giraffe, giraffe, seraph, ziraph, they better not remember you as a camel leopard, as I think that's sloppy." And the zookeeper seethed over the sound of the hail, and then he soothed, and he added, "We share the same number of vertebrae. I read it in the funny pages." And then he made sure that at least the now sodden giraffe could have its lunch, and together they tongued blossoms through spininess, a treat. And every day, even as the waters kept rising, the zookeeper took the time to brush giraffe dust from the giraffe's coat, and the waters kept rising, and the waters kept rising, and he swept the giraffe down with the longest broom in the village. Last year, the zookeeper constructed a shed for the express purpose of storing long brooms, and the giraffe had watched him build it in happier times. But today, on that 31st day, if we're counting the 31st day of rain, the zookeeper watched through his own long lashes as that shed, filled with long brooms, washed away. And he saw what can happen when one overlooks definitions and ampersands and sirens and delatures, and he shouted apologies to the giraffe over the sound of the rain. He shouted apologies without quite understanding why. And when he was told finally that the waters would not stop, that the waters would never stop, he began killing his animals in the zoo, concertedly, to spare them each from drowning. And of course, he wept, and he swore for all the water of that weeping. And as the new tides rose, children in the village did the same to their orange cats and to their yellow dogs, and a thrush did the same to some snails on a rooftop, and clouds in their bruxism eyed the mountains, and the giraffe ruminated on the fact that even things like incidental mice in a zoo scream, and they scream, and they scream at the last. But the giraffe, in its final moments, when perhaps it felt that it could not stay silent without appearing unappreciative, as all flesh perished that moved upon the earth, both fowl and cattle and beast, and every swarming thing that swarmeth upon the earth, and as the zookeeper lost the hand of his wife beneath the water, and while the zookeeper was then coughing in the water with one arm looped around the parish weather vane, and saying goodbye finally to his giraffe, with a ship off there in the distance, you almost couldn't see it, a ship filled with clipboards and specific to animals that do not really have hands, so they could not wave back to the zookeeper, even in misunderstanding as he waved. And as the ship dipped beyond the horizon and the zookeeper's shoulders slipped a last crucial inch, his tall charge chose its moment, and the tall giraffe turned its funny head against the zookeeper's cheeks, and he breathed across his face to keep him warm.